But they're in the country, isn't it?
I don't say yes or no,
Yes.
but I'm sure I didn't consume GMOs.
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Let's take you back to that story. And I would like to first start with your comments on that particular story. Number one, you said, what is the rush? Number two, you said, indeed, the current drought then in the country could have been mitigated differently. Not to the point where we're saying, let's introduce GMO. Let's begin from your particular sentiments on this conversation. What is the rush?
Thank you very much for this opportunity once again to speak to consumers out there and Kenyans at large. Indeed, the ban on GMO is really disappointing to consumers, especially of this country. And from the research that was done, 51% of Kenyans are not willing to consume GMOs. And those willing to consume GMOs, sometimes when you look at that research, you'll see that most of them don't know what GMOs are about and the effects of GMOs. The question you asked me is, what the rush? It's true. I don't understand what informed the lifting of the ban as an individual. And when you also ask our members, they're also saying they don't know why the president lifted the ban on GMOs without consulting stakeholders. And consumers are a key stakeholder in the same. Because when you're making this decision, you're making on whose behalf? It's on our behalf as consumers, the end users of this product. So did you consult us to give you a thumbs up so that you can lift the ban? What has changed over the years since 2012 up to now? Is there any information out here to show what they have done as government to go back and look at what the issues that were raised during the ban, whether they have been addressed as it is right now before they lift the ban? So those are the issues that we are asking. We are not out here to fight with anyone. We just want our rights to be upheld. We don't want anyone, including the president, to be pushed to infringe on the consumer rights.
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty much. Let's dial it back a bit in 2012. There was a research done that informed former President Mwai Kibaki's decision to ban the importation and the growing of GMO in the country. You, as a consumer rights protector, could you have loved that when they were announcing the lifting of that ban, they would have started by going back to the 2012 ban and giving us findings first before then saying, this is why we're lifting it?
Exactly. This is what we are saying. Before lifting the ban, highlight or tell us what informed that.
Yes.
Go back to the issues that were raised that time during 2012.
Yes.
And then go down and highlight what government has done and what scientists have done as purported that they have done something on GMO, which I'm not really sure, because in Kenya we know that we don't have the capacity to carry out that research of such a magnitude.
Yes.
Help us understand that these are the areas that were raised, and especially maybe causing cancer, that GMOs cause cancer, then come up with a research to counter that before you lift the ban, or a good explanation on why. Don't use the suffering of Kenyans, the 4.6 million Kenyans, don't ride on it to lift a ban. That is just, you are laughing at us as consumers.
Yes.
And that is really taking advantage of our situation, which is very wrong. So the government could have gone back, highlight issues that were raised by that time. Then tell us on issue number 1, this is what we have come to, we have found out from ABCD research. And this issue number 2, this is what you have come up with. Then that way, we would understand as consumers. Remember, Article 46 of the Constitution gives me and you a right of information.
Yes.
You need to understand what took place before the lifting of the ban.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me take you back again to what informed this lifting of this ban again. They did point out to a certain variety of cotton in the country that is GMO based, that they're saying is performed proper and it does not attract pest and diseases. So they said, you see, this cotton variety then is performing to this level. We have a critical part in this country, maize, that we need to address as well. What if we go that direction as well? Comparison of maize with cotton.
Remember that we don't eat cotton. That's not food. Cotton is meant for textile.
Yes.
But when it matters of food, that is a basic right, a basic human right that you cannot play around with. Food is so key. Food is everything. Food means your health. Food means the whole of you. So when it comes to food, we are not supposed to play games with food or play politics with food. So if cotton did well, and of which we have also farmers who have complained about what they were promised, actually what they ordered versus what they received are two different things.
Yes.
So they asked for, I mean, they were told, they were promised heaven, that they were told this cotton will produce more yields, but we have reports, it's all over, you people in the media have reported that farmers are complaining this cotton is not really of the quality that we were promised, it's of the inferior quality out there, it's not competing with other products from other areas.
Yes.
And number two, when you're talking about BT crops, it means that there will be someone who will be selling seeds continuously. Unlike the old ways that we could grow and then we keep some of the seeds from our produce to plant in the next season.
Yes.
But right now you have to go back to the shop again and get seeds. What if those seeds are not there? And then number two, these GMO seeds that are being, GMOs that are being really hyped. I want someone to tell me why is it that the seeds are subsidized? If it's so good and very cheap, why are the seeds subsidized? Those are the issues that we want arrested first before lifting the ban. And then on the smallholder farm, remember in Kenya, 70 to 80% of the food produced, consumed in this country is produced by smallholder farm.
Yes.
Remember that these smallholder farmers are not, they are not miles apart one from the other. So if one, assuming you are doing the GMO and I'm doing organic food, what will stop cross-pollination from your farm to my farm, and it will not really contaminate, but it will compromise the quality of food that I'll be producing. Is there a law in place or regulation in place to protect that smallholder farm? These are the issues that we are raising. We are not fighting with anyone. We are raising these issues so that by the time we accept this foreign technology to take place in this Kenya, or to take root in the country, then these issues have to be addressed adequately.
Yes.
Yes.
You represent the consumers at the grassroots level in this country. And when we looked at this issue, we said what is missing essentially at the grassroots level is the penetration of information, the penetration of making consumers aware of their rights. Now, you raised a very interesting point when you started this conversation, that 51% of Kenyans, according to a research done by Route to Food, do not want to consume GMO. Somebody asked this question. Even if there isn't enough information then in the country about GMO and the effects of GMO, would it be okay for us to defend rights of Kenyans that we are not sure that they do know that they have? What should come first, Alice?
You're pulling me that direction. You're really pulling me. What should come first?
Yes.
The right to information. Let me just handle the right to information.
Yes.
We have a right to be informed on what is happening, especially on areas that issues that touches on our health, issues that touches on our basic rights. So when you're talking about penetration of information to that consumer that is at the grassroots level, it's not our role per se as consumer organizations and also as civil society organizations. We don't replace government. We only complement where necessary what government does. Yes. And also we critique where we feel things are not going right. So it's the role of government to ensure that consumers at the grassroots level have the information about GMOs and not misinformation. If you misinform, then it's also wrong. Yes. Like now the misinformation that we have out there, that GMOs are good, GMOs will not, they will survive in harsh climatical areas. GMOs, that is misinformation. We want clear information and evidence-based information. That's what we need at the grassroots level. And this is what we ask. That's where we are representing consumers. We are the voice of consumers, every consumer. By the way, we are representing even the president himself. Yes. Yes, he needs to understand that the 57% of Kenyans that don't want to consume GMOs, their voice has to be heard. If indeed is a president of a bottom-up, a president of the common person, then he needs to understand and listen to the common person. Those concerns, that mean 57% of of Kenyans is not a small number.
Now, one thing is going to be clear, Alice, and just before I get to that question, what is your next step of action? Because it looks as if it's a done and dusted deal. We've seen your organization protest this decision by the government then to lift that ban. What should we anticipate from you concerning this announcement? Is there a next step?
First of all, we want to exhaust what is legally available for us. Yes. We are talking to government. We issued that statement and we forwarded the statement to relevant authorities. And we expect the president to act. And actually, the role of media is key in ensuring that this information gets to the right people. And we appreciate you so much because now the president has listened. I believe is listening and he will continue listening. We ask him humbly to reverse it and reinstate the ban. If that doesn't happen, then we will begin to explore on other avenues that are within the Constitution. Yes. Yes. So these avenues could be going to court, first of all. And if that one doesn't happen, and I think the president should prepare himself to host us for many days because he will protest until that happens.
Yes. What we understand now is that with the traders who are into this business, they do know very well that the gates have been opened for any other person who wants to import maize into the country right now to include GMO. In fact, they would even be very specific. We need GMO into the country because there isn't a ban in the country. From where you sit it, because we are protecting the rights of these consumers, and we haven't seen anything from the government that is saying that every bag of maize that's going to go into the shops right now is going to have the GMO tag on it. Are you also preparing from that front? Making sure that any other time from now, because we do know business is an ongoing process and the government wants to deal with this issue of drought in the country, that any other bag that comes into the country would have the GMO tag on it. We haven't seen that the direction from the government.
Those are the regulations we are asking for. Those are the areas we want addressed. We want, if you are producing GM food, let it be labeled as such. Yes. So that when we go to the supermarket, a consumer has a right to choose. If they want to eat GM, fine. If they don't want to eat GMO food and they want organic, they'll get the organic food. That is one area that we want to seriously be addressed because we want all the food that is GM food or non-GM food to be labeled. That is number one. And number two, you know, Kenya, we know Kenya the way we are. We are so keen on export, but we don't care about what we consume in this country. What happens is that when we are exporting food, the agencies are very keen on testing to ensure that it meets the standards of of the market out there. But when it comes now to whatever that is coming in, I don't think we are keen on that. And that's why the policy that is lying, that has not been operationalized, the food policy, the food safety policy,
yes,
it needs to be active. And also we have the food safety controller. That way, we'll know that in case of anything, we have somewhere to lean on. We have somebody that the blame maybe will stop at. So without that in place, why are you lifting this ban? Honestly, I don't understand what was the rush. I don't understand. Is there someone that is pushing the government to make this decision? Is there someone from out there, the multinational companies that are pushing the government to lift the ban on GM? Because I remember sometimes back when this ban was put into place. I mean, when 2012, when GM was banned,
yes,
one of the Western countries really protested the act. And they were not happy that the GM food is banned in this country, whether growing or importation. And talking about BT cotton, this is what they are riding on. They are riding on BT cotton. But we want to maintain that this technology is new in this country and even in the world over. Yes. This technology has not lived a whole life cycle to understand what are the effects. So for that reason, let us not use the BT cotton to open window for every other kind of GM to come to the country. And when you are talking about 4.6 million Kenyans who are going hungry, remember in other countries like South Africa, we've had where GM has been practiced for for many years, we still have issues of hunger, yes, in that country. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really solve that. The problem that we have in Kenya, it's not a production issue. The problem we have in Kenya is not that we need maize from the GM maize from outside. We have our neighbors who are producing non-GM food. Why can't we get them? And they produce in surplus. Why can't we import from them? Why are we keen on GM only? Why? And this is the answer. This is the answer we want to be given. We have our neighbors in Tanzania, and that they are going to be very keen. Actually, they might be forced to be scrutinizing whatever comes from Kenya, yes, because in Tanzania this has been banned. So, what sort of relationship are we going to have with our neighboring, with our brothers and sisters from the East African community? And remember, we have the market in Africa is too large under the FCFTA. Why is it that some countries want to have a bilateral trade with Kenya and not come through the REC, the regional economic blocks? Mm-hmm. Why is that happening? There's a lot that we are desiring to really understand, because this lifting of the ban is opening up to a discussion that that will not end today.
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty much. You did mention something on what your responsibility is, and I want to put you on the spot like this, Alice. You're in a government that should essentially give this information to the consumers. Make sure that we have enough bodies that then should elevate the rights of the consumer so that we are aware of whatever it is that we're consuming. But you see there's a black spot in here now where the government is pro-GM, but when you look around for information on GM, it is neither here nor there. Does now that change your role as an association that is supposed to protect the consumer rights? Are we going to see a changed role from your end when now again within this GM food, you're the ones who are going to give us this information about GM food?
If the government fails, then we have to take up that role.
Yes.
Otherwise, we wouldn't really want to do that, because it's the sole role of government to ensure that we get information. Remember, agriculture is devolved. And if the Ministry of Agriculture, if agriculture is devolved, there are CCs for agriculture and Department of Agriculture in every county. If the extension officers can be well trained, they will reach each and every part of this country. But if that doesn't happen, then as civil society, we are here in partnership with other stakeholders like the media,
yes,
to ensure that consumers have information, the correct information that is about GMOs.
Somebody asked again this question, and I'm going to go back again and put you on the spot in this conversation, Alice. Mm-hmm. Somebody said, all these groups that are talking about do not get GM food into the country, and that particular reason for the government making this decision of bringing GM food in the country, the severe hunger that about 23 counties are facing right now in the country, that could you have a soft spot for the government in this particular decision, going by the fact that, indeed, the country is in a dire need of not just one solution, but any solution that can contribute to alleviating some of the challenges that Kenyans are facing?
Seemingly, the only solution that the government has by now is to lift the ban. Seemingly.
From where you're seated?
Yes, from where I'm seated. This is what we are seeing, and which is wrong. Because we have other, and why are you keen on only, this is a question I asked you, why are not you, but I'm just posing out there to consumers, why is the government keen on lifting the ban and not going to purchase or not importing food or maize that we've been importing that's non-GM maize? This is what we're asking. Why does it have to be that? Yes, we have hunger in the country, but we've been importing maize from our neighboring countries that's non-GM food, non-GM maize. Why can't we continue with that? This is the question we need to ask ourselves as Kenyans. Who is this that is behind the lifting of the ban? It seems not clear to all of us, just as it's not clear to you. It's also not clear to us who is behind the lifting of the ban. Yes.
Let's go back to what WHO says. And if you look at what they're talking about GM food, Alice, they're saying that it should be a case-by-case study. That this country, whatever country decided then to go into GM, you will study that particular product that you want to bring into the country as GM. Then after that, you give it a green light. But then, Alice, on that particular presser, again, the government did also give a green light to a couple of other products that they wanted to get results from before they also open it up for GM, which was a big contrast to the way that they treated maize, which they essentially went right ahead to give a green light before they ordered a study. Would that give leeway for you to go back to the courts and have a case?
That is very true. Those are the areas that we're exploring, but we don't want, as I told you, we don't want to take that step before we talk to government, as we are doing now.
Yes.
We are using different avenues to communicate to government so that they can reinstate the ban. Then from there, we come together as stakeholders so we can discuss and come up with a clear solution on this issue. So talking about case-by-case study, it's true that before you release any foreign technology, any technology, not just foreign, but any technology is accepted by every other stakeholder, then you need to study very well, subject it to public participation before you even release it for use. And this was not done. This was not done. And this is the reason why we are telling the government, you didn't follow the law, the constitution that is, and go back so that we can start all over again.
Pretty much.
And if that one does not happen, then we have other avenues right within the constitution to take action on government.
Pretty much. Alice, we have 45 seconds left for this conversation, and I can't let you go before you speak on something about where we are in terms then of consumer rights in the country, especially at the grassroots level. Are you confident that we're making steps in terms of making consumers aware of their rights, or this is an area that has not yet been scratched? 45 seconds, if you may.
Why only 45 seconds? Now, okay,
Yes.
It's true that we've made some steps on educating consumers on their rights.
Yes.
And we empower them to empower others, also those others to empower their peers so that they can protect themselves. So this is what we are doing, especially as Consumer Grassroots Association, because we cannot be everywhere to protect you. So we encourage consumers to stand up and protect their rights, defend their rights, that is, all over the country.
Yes.
This space is pretty new, and every other stakeholder who is a consumer too needs to come on board. We work together to uphold this, the consumer rights. Because we are looking at a scenario where before anything happens in Kenya, consumers are consulted. Consumers should be subjects and not objects. And this is what we are looking forward to. We are calling on board all stakeholders, and especially on this area of GMO, I'm personally appealing to the religious community to come out just the way they spoke about abortion, the way they spoke, we spoke about abortion, yes, and then we came out strongly, and then we spoke about family planning.
Yes.
We are asking the religious leaders to come out and have a statement or a stand on GMOs, considering and especially calling on the Roman Catholic faithfuls to read the document from the Pope, and that is the Laudato Si encyclical, that highlights very well about nature, environment, and also the GMOs. It's there. We want our our members of the church to come out, and other environmentalists to come out. We work together. We are not working against the government, but we also help them to understand this is where we stand, and we ought to be listened to, and we ought to be given a chance.
Guess what? I'll be calling you back sometime soon so we can actually get to have a discussion then on consumer rights and those ones that we need to understand as consumers. Alice, thank you very much for making time.
Thank you so much for hosting.
Anytime. Take her back to the time that you joined us here on Look Up Business at Look Up TV across all